the autonomy economy is real. Commercial robotaxi operations, humanless freight runs, AV infrastructure investment measured in billions. The question is no longer whether autonomous mobility scales. It's who advises the companies building it. KPMG works across the full autonomy ecosystem: operators, OEMs, suppliers, insurers, and investors. At the moment it matters most. When the road ahead is uncertain, we've already been there. KPMG, accelerating what's next in mobility.
Robotaxis are going to be transforming mobility around the globe, right? We see it in San Francisco, near where I live. You're out on the streets of Miami and you're seeing it every day. Those are just a few of the places that get to enjoy this technology and benefit from it in 2026. But this technology is going to get everywhere, and I mean everywhere. And so today we're going all the way around the globe. We're taking a look at what's going on in Hong Kong, because just at the end of last month, the Hong Kong Transport Department announced that it had issued 7 pilot licenses covering 63 autonomous vehicles. Now, Baidu holds 3 of these licenses, accounting for 50 of the authorized vehicles that are allowed on the streets of Hong Kong. In the news release, the Hong Kong Transport Department also said that Baidu had been authorized to conduct cross-district driverless trials connecting Airport Island, Sunny Bay, and Tung Chung, which are very important districts on this very small, very dense island. And the government has increased the vehicle limit for Baidu up until 50, and then raised its speed limits to 50 kilometers per hour, which is roughly, if my math is correct, about 30 US miles per hour. And so now testing for Baidu on the island is encompassing complex urban environments, and they're using Baidu's 6th generation RT6 robotaxis. The next step in this evolution, as announced in the press release, was that Hong Kong regulators are actively transitioning toward driverless operations under a dedicated code of practice. So they're developing an AV framework. Now, in that framework, for those who are going to follow closely, and I know there are some that really do, driverless operations are called fully remote controlled in the Hong Kong regs. So while we are not necessarily getting to a global taxonomy, we are seeing global expansion. And I think this is a really big signal for Baidu, as we'll talk about in a minute, for what it portends not only in Hong Kong, but for other markets in the region that are similarly situated to Hong Kong and that perhaps offer real chance for international expansion ahead of Waymo.
I love this line. Fully remote controlled. That is a heck of a line. Now, because you and I are sticklers for fine print and doing all this stuff, and we've got the wonderful Omega algorithm that, boy, she does a lot of work for us. When I hear this, and we haven't asked Omega this yet, when I hear fully remote controlled, am I to assume that this is a 1-to-1, 1-to-2 remote operator? How should we think about that? And do you think that we will get clarity in the regs over time?
I think we will get clarity. But for now, the way to read that is that it is relinquishing the driver tasks to the vehicle itself. And that's what they mean by fully remote controlled. The vehicle is being controlled by the driverless system. And so that's what they mean by remote controlled. It's not direct control by the human operator. It's remote controlled by the compute stack. And fully meaning that you don't have some kind of level 3 fallback system, right? That it is a true level 4 driverless operation. So it is a bit of a unique construction of the term. And to be fair, right, Hong Kong is a unique place to begin with, so I'm not surprised. But it is, I think, a signal that Hong Kong is transitioning from these small supervised pilots that existed to a more structured cross-district commercial readiness form of testing. And there is no doubt that Baidu is the primary beneficiary of this regulatory evolution. And so I think this really helps Baidu because it gets to utilize the city's very complex, very dense, right-hand drive urban environment as a strategic proving ground. And to me, it is that right-hand drive urban environment that is the key learnings that Baidu is going to get. It also has, to be fair, this has benefits to Hong Kong itself, right? They are looking to gain credibility as a credentialing hub in terms of providing a validated pathway for L4 technology to come to the island, but then also as a way for it to signal that if you can pass our validated testing and deployment framework, you should be able to gain credibility in other global markets.
To me, and I'm going to put on the wonky geopolitical hat that we've discussed quite a bit here, and we've written about it. At some point, we'll probably release a paper on it. It just emphasizes China's autonomous Belt and Road Initiative, where now you're doing right-hand drive on the left-hand side of the road. That opens up more of a global market where it becomes another, if you want to call it, incubation hub, testing hub to export Chinese autonomy to the world. To me, it is more of a strategic initiative than anything. Yes, is it good for the city-state of Hong Kong? Yes, autonomy is great for the city-state of Hong Kong. But to me, it's more of a geopolitical positioning to further ramp up the exporting of this technology. And then that gets very, very interesting because that opens up the Japanese market potentially. That potentially opens up the UK market, because if you look at that, and we've seen all the exports of the vehicles go to those markets, it opens up a lot of new potential markets and is a testing facility very practically close to home.
I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head with that, right? It provides a learning environment unlike any other, right? I don't know, for those folks who haven't been to Hong Kong, it is maybe the most populated vertical place full of people that I've ever been in my entire life. And I've been to a lot of places, and I grew up right on the outskirts of New York City. So I've been around big cities my entire life, and there's almost nothing like Hong Kong, right? Tokyo, different because it's a different scale in terms of just how massive Tokyo is. But Hong Kong is small, and it is dense, and it is an environment unlike any other. And to your point, the right-hand drive, left side traffic system is a perfect place to train and certify models for other international markets. You hit the nail on the head. It's Japan, it's the UK, it's Singapore, Australia, Malaysia. They all share these same traffic patterns. And if you can prove that your technology works there under a viable framework, which is why I emphasize the framework to begin with. This is not anybody and anything goes, right? This is going to be a very sophisticated framework. You are going to have a large amount of credibility, and you're going to set yourself up well for export into these much larger markets, right? Japan and Malaysia, the UK, these are significantly larger markets than Hong Kong itself. Despite the density in Hong Kong. And so I think this really does provide Baidu an advantage. And I think it's very intentional, as you point out as well.
We're not the only ones reading the tea leaves here. Omega made a prediction. We didn't even prompt for a prediction, but she came out with a prediction here. I mean, she's getting smart. She's eating those Wheaties here. I'm going to read this one to you. Omega predicts that Baidu will announce a commercial Apollo Go pilot in Singapore, Australia, or Japan within 18 months, citing the Hong Kong validation data as a regulatory proof of concept. You and I said it. She's saying it in the data. I think that is 100% spot on. Which one of that? I won't make a prediction on that. But it reinforces what you and I have said forever since we started this company, is that autonomy is going global. and it is going to be a global race. And that's why we collectively created the Road to Autonomy indices, the robotaxi indice, every 12 hours, fully sealed, updating it. You and I have seen a pattern here, and we're going to release more of that data in the coming weeks. There'll be a subscription service for it. Is Baidu and Waymo have been playing a game of ping pong for that number one leader spot, because the data is there. Baidu is much further along than I think most individuals truly realize. And what's happening in Hong Kong, the data that Omega's gathering, is further validating that point of their grand global ambitions.
Agreed. And look, we already know, as you know, we've uncovered at the Road to Autonomy, that Waymo has already set up legal infrastructure in Australia. It already has legal infrastructure and some testing in Japan. And so these are two of the markets through which validation in Hong Kong will make accessibility into those markets, Japan and Australia, much easier. And so there is no doubt in my mind that Baidu is targeting the same markets that Waymo is, and I think is trying to advance its technology in a pace and a fashion that will give it an advantage to not only get there as the first mover, but also get there and show that it's more sophisticated in ability to handle the right-hand drive scenario, right? We here in the U.S. don't drive on the right-hand side of the road. Our vehicles aren't structured for right-hand drive. Waymo's vehicles, what we've seen from the few Jaguar I-Paces that have moved over to Japan, they are still the Americanized version. They are not built for the roads in Japan, per se, for the traditional driver. So it's going to be really interesting how much this Hong Kong effort accelerates Baidu's efforts to continually either meet or exceed what Waymo is doing.